All right, here we go. So simplify the given expression. And these ones are going to be just like the proof that we just did, except for now we're not proving that it's equal to anything, um, uh, just evaluating it, or not evaluating, but simplifying it, getting it down to its um, most simple way we can express it. So um, pause these and try them on your own first. I think that you're going to do great with them. Just take the time to actually try them and then come on back afterwards and see how you did. So please pause, do try them first, and then come on back. All right, so hoping that you've done that. Now let's go ahead and work our way through. So I'm going to start with cosine of, actually let's do this in blue, cosine of 30 degrees plus theta. So that's going to give us, I'm going to break this up into its two different parts here. So that's going to give us, actually we don't need to, that's going to give us cosine of alpha times cosine of beta. So cosine of 30 degrees times cosine of theta minus, oops, this is all still blue, sorry, minus sine of alpha, which is 30 degrees, so sine of 30 degrees times sine of theta. And that's all just this first part expanded right there. Now to that, we're going to add, and we'll do this one in red, cosine of 30 degrees, cosine of the quantity 30 degrees minus theta. So that's going to be cosine of alpha times cosine beta, which is cosine of 30 degrees times cosine theta. And it's minus, so we're going to do plus here. So plus sine of alpha, sine of beta. So sine of 30 degrees times sine of theta. All right, so we've expanded these two, and now we got to just look for our like terms, simplify it all out, and we'll be good to go. So what is, let's see here, we got, do we have any like terms? So I see cosine of 30 degrees times cosine of theta, and cosine of 30 degrees times cosine of theta. We have two of those, so 2 times cosine of 30 degrees times cosine theta. And then negative sine of 30 degrees sine of theta and positive sine of 30 degrees times sine of theta. Those are going to cancel each other out. And so we're left with just 2 times the cosine of 30 degrees times the cosine of theta. Now cosine of 30, we can evaluate that one. Thinking of your unit circle, 30 degrees, cosine is going to be the square root of 3 over 2. So this is 2 times the square root of 3 over 2, just substituting cosine of 30 degrees right here, times the cosine of theta, which gives us, well, 2 divided by 2 is just 1, and we're left with the square root of 3 times the cosine of theta. And make sure you keep your square root of 3, your square root ends at 3, and then times the cosine of theta. All right, there's that one again. Pause and try the next ones before continuing on. Make sure you're trying them, because that's how you're going to really develop your ability to do these problems. So please pause and then come on back after you've done that. All right, so sine of the quantity pi plus x plus the sine times the quantity, or the sine of the quantity pi minus x. So let's break this on down. That's going to be sine of alpha, which is pi, times cosine of beta, which is x. We're just doing just this first one here, plus sine of beta, which is x, so sine of x, times sine, or cosine of alpha, which is pi. Now that all plus, and then move on to the red here for the second term. We've got sine of alpha, which for us is our pi, times the cosine of beta, which for us is x, minus, or when it's sine, it's the same operation, so minus here, minus sine of beta, which for us is x, and cosine of alpha, which for us is pi. All right, let's combine our like terms and work our way through. So let's see, we've got a sine of pi times cosine of x, and another sine of pi times cosine of x. So that's 2 times the sine of pi times the cosine of x. And then we have a sine of x times cosine of pi minus sine of x cosine of pi. So those ones will cancel each other out. Those will go down to 0 when we add them together. And we're left just with this right here. Now we can evaluate again at sine of pi. Think of your unit circle. Where's pi? Pi is all the way over here. What is sine over here at pi? Well, it's 0. So this really says 2 times 0, just substituting in sine of pi, times cosine of x. And 2 times 0 times cosine of x is just 0. All right. Last one, and really do pause and try this on your own first, and come on back after you've done that. All right, so hope that you have, in fact, tried this out on your own first. And we've got all this stuff multiplied together. This one looks a little bit different. If we're looking at it, the only addition or subtraction is right here at the -1. So if we were to distribute out this sine of x, sine of y, there's 2 terms we need to distribute it on the inside. The cotangent of x, cotangent y, that's all one term, and then the -1. So let's go ahead and distribute that out and just see what we get. So we've got sine of x times cotangent. Actually, let's write this a little bit simpler way right here. Let's change cotangent to, first off, so we got sine, just going to rewrite this stuff on the outside the same way. So sine of x times sine of y. And then on the inside, well, what is cotangent? That's cosine of x over sine of x. And then cotangent of y is going to be cosine of y over sine of y. And this will make it a little bit easier to see what's going to cancel out here in this next step. -1. So all we did actually right here was rewrite cotangent into cosine over sine. And now when we distribute, hopefully this will become a little bit clearer. So as we multiply this term by the first one, we're going to have the sine of x and sine of y are going to both cancel out with their respective terms right here. And we're left just with cosine of x times cosine of y. Now when we distribute the sine of x and sine of y to the -1, those will, nothing to cancel out there, so minus sine of x, sine of y. And as you're looking at this, hopefully you're saying, hey, I've seen this before. This is when we have cosine of an alpha and a beta. And hey, it's subtraction, so this would be when the angles are added together. And that's going to be our last step here, is that we're going to rewrite this as cosine of, well, what's our alpha? Our alpha is x, plus, what's our beta? Well, our beta is y. So cosine of x plus y, and there's your final answer. All right, hope that helped.